Headquarters, it's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team. And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
I ain't no Randy Tobler. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, and me, Peter Thiel, we're with you all week for Wake Up Missouri for Randy and Stephanie, who are away. One's on a business trip, the other is on a vacation. I think that's great.
That. Yep.
I think that's great. They will be back on Monday, and I'm pretty doggone excited about it. More and more stories about people either being fired or resigning from their jobs because of celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's just not good, people. I mean, it ultimately, we have to look at each other as human beings, as creatures of God, each with a special worth that can never be replaced. That's where we have to be. Sadly, we are at a place now in our society where we're basically at micro-tribalism. We are now at a place where you can surround yourself with folks that think about like you. It could be religion, politics, a personal interest, whatever it is. And you are never around someone who is different than you. And that's hugely problematic.
That's even more true in kind of, what is clannish the right word? Missouri, small towns and all, that people just don't have that interaction with people of other ethnicities or even faiths at times, do they?
No, well, that's true. But again, the whole thing about neighbors knowing neighbors is that day is dead. Our neighborhood is now our communities that we build online. Especially if you are under the age of 50. You do not have, and again, I'm not saying this is bad. I have a personal interest that's very geeky, very niche. No one would ever care about it. Except there's about 3,200 people that care about this that I interact with online. And you want to know how niche and geeky this is?
I'm sitting at the edge of my seat, Peter. I want to know.
I run a Facebook group for the it's called the California Condor Recovery Page. I run it with a condor biologist at the LA Zoo.
Wow.
In that community, they did a release not that long ago. I'm on the Zoom call, and you would have thought I was a celebrity. All the condor scientists know who I am. That's pretty cool. No one cares about that. But you have an interest like that, John. Drake, Lord knows you wanted to put a diaper on a duck. You have interests like that. It's Jennifer, I'm sure. Jennifer is like the pickleball woman.
True.
We all have interests that may not necessarily be, and I'm not criticizing that. What I'm saying is that we live in an area where you can go into micro-tribalism. You can find little things you may be interested in, whatever that may be, and go down the rabbit hole. And once you go down that rabbit hole, you can be in a place where you are not around anybody different. And by nature, humanity is, and I think this goes back to the early man, is that why were there tribes in the first place? Well, number one, for a couple of reasons. To eat, to go hunting.
Procreate,
because you got to meet somebody. You got to find somebody to love. And the other thing is to protect yourselves from attack. If you're going off on your own, if you go into early man, those are sort of the basic things. Eat, procreate, and protection. And in our modern world, we don't think about protection that much. We really don't in the United States.
Very true.
We do think a lot about, okay, we like eating good. But we look at, okay, our interests. They say, and I don't think this is true in the Columbia area, maybe true in Jefferson City or in Springfield. They say one of the most segregated places in America is your local church. Because it is cultures maybe worship their creator in a very different way. Not a criticism, it's just the way it is. And because of that, we can become in a place where we only see people who are like ourselves. And that's very problematic. So
that's even the workplace for a lot of people.
Yes. So what I have done is I have friends, people of goodwill, who I disagree with. One of my best friends, he's a big lefty. He's an atheist. He completely different than I am, except we both like good conversations. We both like good debates.
How's he feel about condors?
He knows about the condor thing. I think he's like 99% of the people.
He's
99.5% of the people. Yeah, they're fine. You mean you spend time studying condors? What a geek. Yeah, so that's sort of the deal. And so, but I spend time with him. I go to my hometown about once a year, and I'll be up there for a family wedding in November. He and I will meet for breakfast or lunch.
Up there in the Great White North.
Yeah,
eh?
we'll go up there. He lives in St. Paul. He and I will meet somewhere over there, have a nice breakfast on one of those
You're from
days.
St. Paul?
I'm from actually Lake Minnetonka.
I can just barely hear that. But Mike Murphy, you can hear his accent all the time. Yours
you
is
want me to
a lot more subtle. Like I don't pick up on it.
I've worked on it. Yeah. Do you want me to go full Minnesotan?
Yeah, let's hear it. I want to hear all about it.
No, that's Canadian, dear.
Huh?
That's not how the Minnesotans
You
speak.
Northerners are all like
No,
me.
we're not. So you see, if you go in and you speak in the accent of the Minnesotan, that's how it rolls.
Minnesotan.
Yeah, so
Up there, eh?
yeah, so I've done what I can to drop it. Essentially, I was really shocked when I saw the movie Fargo.
Yeah.
And I go, holy crap, that's how I sound. And and that here's a fun little fact here about the movie Fargo. Remember the Oldsmobile dealership?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did live commercials on my first station from that showroom on Saturday mornings.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so it's but we all can be super tribal. And it's problematic. It
Especially
just
up
is.
there in the Twin Cities, they can be pretty tribal. If you're not a Scandinavian, you're kind of out of
Or a
luck.
Somalian now.
Well,
they have a lot of
that's true.
Somalians.
I would say that online is worse. Like that's
Yes.
because I think that's a healthy thing of me having, pickleball and now mahjong as hobbies. Is it something you have to put your phone down? You're interacting with other people in real life that have families and you're just talking about things. And guess what? They're not all totally caught up on the weird arguments that everyone's having on X about political things. They don't care about that. Like MSNBC, but so-and-so said over there. They're not keeping track of all of that. So it kind of grounds you to be interacting with people in real life, because once I'm on the online world, I have a bunch of friends. I have a national following on X at ESQ on Fire. And my Twitter friends, we're arguing about all kinds of stuff that my real life friends have no idea is even happening and don't care.
Well, just to give you an idea, Fox News is the #1 cable channel. On their best night, they have less than 2% of the U.S. population watching them.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's probably good that not everyone is sitting there glued to the TV, because it is It's my favorite one by far.
Sure.
But it is partisan, and it is like not always focused on positivity. If it bleeds, it
MSNBC
leads. That's
has
news.
a half of 1%.
Yeah, they're a struggle bus. They're just like clinging on because of the legacy media. Like these companies that get built up by people on the right, and then they get taken over by people on the left and ruined. It seems like.
Well, it's Wake Up Missouri. That's Jennifer Bukowski. John Marsh is here. Producer Drake. My name is Peter Thiel, in for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler. I like saying Tobler. I think it's a good name. Coming up is the D.C. Rundown with our man, John Marsh, exclusively on Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, Peter Thiel. I'm him. John Marsh is here with producer Drake, and it is time for the DC Rundown.
Wow. Like WWE in here this morning. President Donald Trump announces the U.S. military carries out a second strike on the Venezuelan cartels. As they continue the crackdown, Trump shared a video of what he called a kinetic strike against a drug boat and 3 terrorists. Strike occurred, he said, while these confirmed narco-terrorists were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon headed to the U.S. Federal appeals court yesterday rejected the president's bid to allow him to fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve. Trump administration likely to ask the Supreme Court to intervene. President moved to oust Cook from the Board of Governors last month over allegations of mortgage fraud. And Tesla CEO Elon Musk dug down deep and disclosed the purchase of $1 billion with a B, in shares of the electric vehicle makers. Show of confidence. He bought 2.5 million shares of Tesla stock, valued on Friday at between $372 and $396 per share.
Yeah, that's probably good. There's a sign there. If a future trillionaire is buying his own stock,
yeah,
you may want to believe in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even as sluggish as the EV market is right now, when it comes to EVs, I would defer to Elon. I think he knows more about it than the rest of us put together.
Correct, he does.
You would hope.
I'm a big Tesla fan and driver. Kinetic strikes. I just had to look that one up. Apparently, that's a term for commonly used in the military in strategic context. Do you guys know what it means?
No.
It means it refers to a direct physical attack that relies on the force of motion, kinetic energy, from a high-speed projectile to destroy or damage a target without using explosives or chemical agents.
Nice.
Yeah,
that
interesting.
seems like a good time.
I guess
wouldn't
if
that
you
be
drop
great?
something from high enough on a boat, you don't need a bomb. It'll blow up.
By the way, I want to say congratulations to Donald John Trump and the United States of America for taking out more drug boats.
You do? I don't know. I'm still torn on this one because it's like we're just relying on the government that, yes, these are Venezuelans. Yes, they're Tren de Aragua. And yes, they have fentanyl. At least this time, Trump was like, you can see the fentanyl or you can see the drugs, the bags of drugs all over the place. Now, I couldn't see that in the video, but surely he is privy to more high-quality images, or I just haven't seen the high-quality images posted anywhere. But I would like to see more, proof, yeah, there were tons of drugs on this boat, because we see the government get stuff wrong all the time. Kash Patel is under some heat because they announced we got the guy right after the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And, of course, they didn't have the guy. And so nobody's perfect, especially government workers. And so it just would make me feel better if we had more confidence that they do have good intelligence, that these are actually narco-terrorists, that they're killing without a trial, without any kind of due process whatsoever.
I would, I get your point. And, of course, Jennifer Bukowski, by the way, right here on Wake Up Missouri, she is the criminal defense attorney on the team.
Yep.
So and a lot of times, I want to say this about criminal defense attorneys, they get kind of a bad reputation but their main job is, and Jennifer, you correct me if I'm wrong, your job as a criminal defense attorney is to make sure the government can constitutionally prove that the alleged perpetrator that you're defending, broke laws and that the Constitution has not been violated.
Well, yeah, I mean, even when the Constitution is violated, there's different remedies for that. Like if there's an illegal search and seizure, you can't use what you got during that search unless you would have discovered it some other way. But yeah, my job is ultimately what criminal defense attorneys do is protect the Constitution for everyone, because especially when I was a public defender, if you're making sure that the constitutional rights of the least powerful among us are respected and followed, then you're protecting the constitutional rights for all people in your community. So I think it's an important task. I think of all the things the government does, putting people in cages and killing them is like the most severe exercise of government power, and there needs to be a real check on it. And that's why, even though I don't love criminals or anything, I don't love crime. I think it's an important, and that's why I was a criminal defense attorney for so many years.
No,
I haven't practiced in just over a year, though. I got to tell Gary Nolan, stop telling people I am currently one, because I get people reaching out to me wanting to represent them, and I'm not taking on cases.
Yeah, it's that's a good thing to note. And again, it's criminal defense attorneys that I've been around, and the work that they do. And yeah, the government does get it wrong. There's no question about it.
They do, yeah. And people are always like, oh, how many jury trials do you have not guilty on? I've got plenty of those, but what I have a thick file on is something called nolli prosequis, and I can tell you all what that means, I guess, later. It means I got them to dismiss the case. I proved to them, you got the wrong person. Don't dismiss this. Sometimes I've solved the crime. I'm like, this is the guy.
Yeah. Well, she's Jennifer Bukowski. She's a hero.
Yes,
John Marsh,
I don't know about that.
Peter Thiel. We're in for Stephanie and Randy right here on Wake Up Missouri.
What's going on?
I understand the National Guard may be coming to protect the good people of St. Louis.
I hope so. I mean, St. Louis is always ranked near the top for mayhem and murder next to Memphis and New York and other areas. So I think the good people here would applaud that. I always say, the liberals and the activists, they say that this is terrible bringing in the National Guard, that it's upsetting civil liberties. But if you actually talk to the people that live in these neighborhoods that are being held hostage by the criminals, they would applaud it. And you don't see those people being interviewed on TV.
Hi, Chris. It's Jennifer Bukowski. Good to talk to you.
Hi, Jennifer. Good talking to you, my friend.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, if you are living in basically a war zone, I think that you welcome the help. And I have seen some on Fox interviews of people that live in the south side of Chicago who are trying to be law-abiding citizens and, go to their jobs and raise kids, and it's scary. And so they're welcoming the help, a lot of them. And I don't blame. Something has to change. Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I think you could say that that's what we've been doing when it comes to the inner cities. What do you think?
I think, and you also, if you remember, back during the illegal immigrant debate, where African-American citizens at the Chicago City Council were speaking and saying how this was ridiculous, why you're allowing illegal aliens into our cities, you're giving them all these benefits. And we've seen that
closing our schools
around.
To house them.
Exactly. Exactly. We've seen that all around the country. All around the country. You've even seen, there was a viral video a few years ago, of a black father who was talking about how he didn't like what was being taught in schools with DEI and the victimization and all that, and it needs to change, that we just need to be teaching the 3 R's. There's a silent, in the black community that is tired of the liberal ideology. Unfortunately, the media only interviews the Jesse Jackson and the charlatan types, and that gives the impression that they speak for the majority of black people. But if you actually poll them and talk to them in the inner cities, they're a lot more conservative than you think they are, and they're tired of liberal policies.
Chris, we haven't talked to you since the end of the special session. Against two-part question. One, were you surprised, and do you think any of the legal challenges have any merit and will be successful?
Well, you got a lawyer there, and I don't want to try to play one on the radio, but I'm hearing with the IP reform that equal protection questions may come up with that. I think with the redistricting, the Supreme Court has made some decisions lately that make this redistricting and districts not so race-based. I think, of course, you're going to hear the argument that African Americans in Kansas City are being disenfranchised because the district is going to stretch all the way to mid-Missouri, and they're probably going to have a Republican representative. Of course, we'll see how that all plays out. But personally, I'm happy about the IP reform. I'm tired of our Constitution being changed with these radical ideas and with a very few people voting on these things. And the redistricting, I'm happy about that because, of course, President Trump needs a majority in Congress. Usually in off elections, midterm elections, the party in power loses seats. So I'm happy about that.
Chris Arps is with us. It's Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel in for Stephanie Bell, and our friend Randy Tobler.
Chris, thanks for mentioning I am a lawyer. I don't think the lawyers aren't even arguing that this is going to get struck down for any kind of racial basis because Kansas City doesn't have nearly enough of a compact black population to form a majority-minority district. So
Sure.
They seem to be hanging everything on this dicta from a 10-year-old state Supreme Court case that I won't worry everyone with. But I think they're almost tacitly acknowledging this map is going to stand in court. So they're trying to do a referendum instead and gather 106 or 107,000 signatures within the next 90 days to force us to vote on this map instead. You're in St. Louis. Have you seen any of these signature gatherers, or are you hearing anything over in your neck of the woods about them making progress on getting these signatures together?
Yeah, I'm just hearing, the same thing that you're hearing, that's something that they're talking about doing. But I have not seen any signature gathers at my local grocery store or any place that I have visited so far. I do want to ask you, as the lawyer, I know one of the challenges against redistricting, they're going to say that this can't be done mid-decade. Your thoughts, is that a strong case?
I don't think so, because the state constitution, it has a provision saying every 10 years after the census, you shall, draw your maps. But it doesn't prohibit us doing it at any other time. It doesn't say you can only do it then. And I think it's pretty clear from looking at other states, they did limit their legislatures to only do it once a decade, like New York or other places. We knew that we could limit it like that. We chose not to. We chose to give ourselves the option to do it mid-decade. And so I think just because the Constitution says you shall do it at this time doesn't mean you cannot do it other times. And we could have made it that way. We didn't. If they want it to be that way, they need to get the Constitution changed or some sort of statute on the books to say you can only do this once a decade. They haven't. So, that's a weak argument. And they're relying on a dicta, just like a superfluous statement that wasn't like the focus of a case in a court opinion, where it said, you do the map under this, and then that's the map for the next decade. But they weren't examining whether or not you could do it another time during that decade. They were just saying that's just the way it works, and that has been the way it works, but that doesn't mean that we're limited to that.
Chris Arps is joining Wake
Sorry
Up
to turn
Missouri.
into the host there.
Hey, you should have me on if you're interested in this.
I did.
Hey, Chris Arps is on Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel, producer Drake. I think, Chris, the other issue that is going on is just how quick both of these very contentious issues got done in the legislature. My concern has been the Republicans have this supermajority, but seemingly cannot get big conservative things done.
But they just did.
Well, they did in this. They did in both special sessions. When it gets to the next special session, or the next session, do you think the roadmap has now been put down for the governor and for legislative leaders to be able to finally get the reform for property taxes, for lowering our income taxes even further done?
I think so. I mean, we had Representative Ben Keithley, who is pushing the personal property issue there in the legislature. And, we interviewed him. It sounded like it was a very possible thing that could be done. And I think with the legislature doing the PQ, or the legislature doing the PQ and saying these are the things that we believe that the people of Missouri want, I think the die has been set for them.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's Chris Arps with Wake Up Missouri right here with Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, and I'm Peter Thiel. I think the other thing having to do with, as we're looking forward to seeing what's going on with the legislature, I have a question. I don't know the answer to this, and I think all of us can have an opinion on this. Do you think that how term limits have been executed in the state of Missouri, that we now have politicians that are more interested in their next political job than they are in getting legislation done? Is
that rhetorical?
I definitely think that. My political mentor, Sherman Parker, unfortunately passed back in 2008 at such a young age of 37. But he was in the first class of legislators that came in after term limits in 2003. And I think people originally thought it was a good idea that, you should be a citizen legislator. You should do your time and put a few terms in and leave. But what we've seen is, we have legislators that are quitting like a year before their term ends, and they end up going to work for the very industries that they were legislating. And then you have the problem where the lobbyists are basically writing the bills because there's no institutional knowledge anymore because those people are gone. I don't know if the solution is getting rid of term limits. I don't know, but it has not been the panacea that I think voters thought it would be when they voted for it, 30, 25 years ago.
Well, then we
I
had
agree 100% with that.
Yeah,
like
then-
they need to be 16 years or something. Otherwise, it's just they just wait them out, especially the government lobbyists.
Then we had
if you have a
Eigler.
principled person.
Then we had people like Eigler who got in the way of getting stuff done, so he could say, "Well, they won't get it done. That's why you need to elect me." And it was
then
so
what did he do,
disingenuous.
by the way? Oh,
Yeah.
wait.
Now he got his next political job.
Checks notes.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey, Chris, before we go, quick question
Yes, sir. Yeah.
with Andrew Bailey being sworn in as the co-deputy director of the FBI, should Kash Patel be worried about his job?
I think definitely so. I heard a lot of rumors before Andrew Bailey was appointed as co-deputy director that Mr. Bongino is going to be reassigned to another part of the government. He's going to have another job. Kash Patel will be angled out, and look for Andrew Bailey to be the FBI director by the end of the year or in January.
Oh, really? Last night they were reporting Kash Patel has been signaled he's safe, but Bongino's gone, basically, when Andrew starts on Monday.
Fox News had an article yesterday that, of course, the White House leaked it, that Pam Bondi and her deputy, they can't stand Kash Patel, and that they want him out. They also said in that Fox News article that in order for Andrew Bailey to be moved up in the government, he has to be on the job 90 days. And if you look at his appointment yesterday, in 90 days, that comes out to the end of the year. I think Kash Patel. I think Kash Patel is going to make a statement that I was brought into the FBI to restore integrity and honor. I think I've done that in the year that I've been here. Now I want to spend more time with my family. I think we'll see that announcement at the end of the year or in January.
We'll bookmark that prediction and see if he ends up being right in 3 months. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris Arps.
No one leaves the Attorney General's office to be co-deputy director of the FBI.
Yeah, there you go. It's Chris
Unless
Arps.
you're moving up quickly.
Yeah, Chris Arps, thank you very much. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri exclusively right here on the wonderful love stations of the Zimmer Radio Group.
And Rico coming up next.
This is Wake Up Missouri.
Right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. Got John Marsh, Jennifer Kipikowski. My name is El Pedro Peter Thiel.
Hola, Pedro.
El Jefe, we call him.
Hola, Pedro. Well, Donald Trump was bringing up the RICO thing again, and he got asked an interesting question about what he intends to do about Antifa. Here's a clip.
What's going on, Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing violence going on. Do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can make up?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. There's some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder.
Okay, and then he goes on to say, bring up again, sua sponte.
Bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE. You know, it's got what.
Okay, I think that clip was really interesting in two different aspects. First of all, the question whether or not you'll declare Antifa to be a terrorist organization, like that is designating it. Usually it's a global thing, you know, where that's what they're using on Tren de Aragua, right? Which it gives them more flexibility in how they handle those organizations.
Yeah.
So I think Trump was smart, though. He's like, if I have support from the people behind me, starting with Pam, so he's deferring to the lawyers. And that's exactly what he should do. And, you know, President Trump doesn't get enough respect for doing stuff like that, being like, yeah, well, if my lawyers are coming to me recommending this, I'm all for it. But he's not saying, yes, we're going to do that without looking into it first. So he's so much smarter than people give him credit for. And then the RICO thing, I think it's interesting that he's brought this up again. This is the second time in just a few days. And
is that the appropriate pathway, Jen, RICO, since it's always kind of historically gone after organized crime and Rudy Giuliani?
That's the thing. You know, John, I talked about this on my show. Yeah, I don't like what they're doing, what Soros is doing, but unless you can show that they are like delivering pallets of bricks to places and gas masks to cause violent riots, and that they're, you know, that they have a pattern of doing it. Yeah. If they're just supporting people to like get on buses to come protest at the legislature or peacefully, you know, and not being like, oh, and here's a bunch of pickaxes while you're there, you know, tire irons, here you go. It's going to be trickier. And I don't like using the federal laws in novel ways because we saw them doing that to Donald Trump. And I just worry about that because really what you're going to be doing is like looking for accounting errors, like what they went after with the bogus 37 counts with Trump. Oh, well, this was paying back Michael Cohen or whatever with 37 different felonies because you called it a legal expense and really it was reimbursing him for hush money. It's ridiculous. And that'd be kind of a similar thing that they'd be looking at here. Like, oh, well, you donated this money and then you ran it through 3 different organizations to kind of hide the sourcing of it. And it got paid to protesters or whatever else. So, yeah, could they get them maybe on a RICO charge? Probably. Like, they have so much power, they can get them on something. But should they be targeting someone? Like, that's the problem with what happened with Trump. They're like, Letitia James is like, there's the man, I'm going to go get him. It should be, here's a crime, now we're going to investigate it, then we'll go after the person responsible. So this is kind of to be
it's a
consistent.
Stalin thing. It's Stalin thing. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
Yeah, we shouldn't be doing it. That's backwards, and so we shouldn't do that either. But maybe Trump has information that they're already under investigation and the crimes have already occurred that are being investigated. Who knows? We'll find out.
7:08, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News. Democrats are in a quandary. Who's their leader? I know who their leader is. It's a communist. All right, coming up right here on Wake Up Missouri. John Marsh is here. He's consistent like a rock. And I'm Peter Thiel in for Randy Tobler. Producer Drake is here. He's with Fox News. He's Ryan Schmelz. Ryan, the Democrats seem to be having a fight for their own soul. What's going on?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, first of all. But this Zohran Mamdani case in New York, where you have this self-proclaimed progressive socialist who is the nominee for the Democratic Party in that race, one of the probably more high-profile races in this off-election year, he's been getting a lot of flack from Republicans, certainly, who've been trying to make this a national story and tie national Democrats to him, saying it is too far to the left. You've had a couple of Democrats on the House side who refused to endorse him. And, of course, he's yet to get the endorsement of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. And that has really frustrated a lot of progressive Democrats like Bernie Sanders and AOC, who are kind of making the argument, hey, look, we endorsed Joe Biden even though he wasn't our first choice, so why don't you endorse our candidate?
Ryan, what do you read into Governor Kathy Hochul coming out and endorsing Mamdani yesterday? Kami Mamdani, we like to call him. She had been holding out as well. What are you hearing as to why she changed and went ahead and endorsed this guy yesterday?
Well, I think it was probably just a decision that she's been waiting to make for a while now. She's probably one of the she's one of the first major probably of some of the ones we've been watching for and waiting for. She's one of the ones who decided to finally go ahead and do it. Look, she wants unity ahead of this next midterm election. She's got a pretty tough race ahead of her. And Mamdani, while he might be controversial for the party, he is somebody who has gotten a lot of credit for having really strong political chops. So certainly the campaigning is going to be important. Getting the progressive wing on Kathy Hochul's side is going to be important. So
she wants to avoid getting primaried, is what I'm hearing you say.
Probably.
Is that more, or is it like she's like, he's inevitable and I need to be allies with this guy, or is it like, I don't want a progressive primarying me, so I better go ahead and endorse him? Those would be the two reasons I can think of for her to even do that.
I can't get into her decision-making right now. I don't really know what ultimately the decision was. But, look, he is the party nominee after all, and that's one of the arguments you hear the progressive making, which is like, look, he won the primary. Are you just not going to endorse the party nominee? You see this happen across the nation where you'll have like a controversial candidate, either Republican or Democrat, and they'll have
Donald Trump
scandal that happens.
Donald Trump was like that for a long time. So
it's like, oh well, I'm supporting the party nominee, and that's kind of what's happening here in some cases. So I think that's the argument that progressives are trying to make, which is like, dude, he won. Get on his side or not.
It's Ryan Schmelz. He is on Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh. I am Peter Thiel.
Is there anything we should take away from the kind of, a debate over his political identity? Initially, they identified him as South Asian all along, pointing out, he was a Muslim. And then what was it? Ugandan American. Is there anything we need to take away from that, or is it just marketing?
I have no idea. That's a tough question. I mean, I think most of the debate's going around whether or not he's a socialist or not, and whether or not he's so far that they could, some Republicans are calling him a communist. Yeah. So I think, and he's been asked by some of our Fox reporters, are there elements of the communist platform that are in your platform? And he just kind of goes, I don't know if he's really truly answered that question yet. But I think one thing we could probably point out too is that there is an opposition to him, and you've got the current mayor Eric Adams running as an independent. You have the former governor Cuomo running as an independent now. He was a Democrat, but didn't win the primary, and of course you got a Republican nominee too. Well, the problem is that one thing we hear a lot is that there's just too dang many of them. And they're kind of cannibalizing the vote from one another because all of them have name recognition, right? But they all have something that's kind of holding them back from, separating themselves from the rest of the crowd. And while they eat up the vote on the other side, Mamdani's able to grab up the next 40 to 50%. And, he's kind of held this strong lead in the polls for quite some time.
Ryan, you are a Capitol Hill and White House correspondent for Fox News Radio. So you're there and plugged into D.C. Who do you see the left most excited about as potential 2028 leaders to emerge to lead the Democrat Party and challenge the Republican one?
Well, what I think's interesting is that the one issue Democrats are having right now especially if you look at the House Democrats, it's getting attention. A lot of them are speaking and they're putting statements out, but they're not getting picked up by the news media because, A, it's already hard to get attention when you're in the minority, but B, they're in the minority and they're competing with President Trump for news time. And President Trump eats up a lot of the news time out there. So, Gavin Newsom has, I think, been that person who's been successful in separating himself and kind of bringing his fight with President Trump to the forefront and making it kind of a national battle between the two. And Governor Pritzker's kind of been the same way, but I think the one that's really gotten a lot of attention is Newsom and Trump. And whether or not he's going to be the guy or not, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people on Capitol Hill, too, who are probably advocating for their respective state governors to be the face. And I think there are some people who believe that probably the best option for the Democrats is to go with the governor because they're probably the most separated from the Biden administration.
Who besides the two you just named, Newsom and Pritzker, are they pushing for?
You've got some who would probably say Andy Beshear would be a good option. There's others who are pushing for somebody like Gretchen Whitmer. There was reporting that apparently Trump is very impressed with Gretchen Whitmer, and they have a pretty
interesting,
perfect, obviously. But, yeah, but and Josh Shapiro is also the other watch for too, the governor of Pennsylvania.
It's Ryan Schmelz. He's with Fox News. The Democrats are looking for their soul in leadership. The one thing about Trump, Ryan, that Democrats are still doing their traditional opposition thing, where you have Schumer coming across like an undertaker. And then you have Hakeem Jeffries seemingly is trying to push against Republicans, but also having to push down on the most radical parts of his party. It's a unique dichotomy that you see with both of those men.
Yeah, and look, they just don't want to answer questions about Zohran Mamdani. I mean, Jeffries looked a little frustrated last week when he was asked about this, and he was like, well, my constituents aren't asking me about this. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, he's kind of supposed to be the mayor of your constituents, so that's odd. That it was an odd answer. And they've just kind of, both of them have had meetings with him. Both of them have, taken questions left and right, but they just still have not followed through and even either given that endorsement or said, hey, look, we think we should go a different direction. You've got some House members who are in swing districts who have flat out said they're not going to endorse him because they think he's too far to the left. But, we're still waiting for that move from leadership here.
It's an amazing thing. Ryan, we just got some breaking news that we'll have to hit. Robert Redford apparently has just passed away. He was 89.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, man.
So that has just come down the thing. That one of the great actors of all time, great movies. He's been in several of the Avengers movies, just been terrific.
He's like the Brad Pitt for like my mom's generation.
Yeah,
like, no matter how old he got, like he was still like the most handsome man in the world to that generation of women.
Yeah. So very good.
Yeah, he's the face of Hollywood at one point. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
For sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan, and we appreciate you joining Wake Up Missouri. Yeah, it's Robert Redford's passing. Now, he was not a kid and apparently was going through some health issues. 89 years old. May we all have the blessing of living a long life and being able to do what we want to do to the age of 89.
Be handsome and successful and everything else. Well, Donald Trump has sued the New York Times for $15 billion. And we got to talk about that, Peter. That's just broken this morning. And I think we can touch on that next, can't we?
Yeah, that's coming up. And we will have that for you at 7:23 exclusively on Wake Up Missouri. You got Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh. I'm Peter Thielen for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler as we have good times right here on the Zimmer Radio Network.
You're listening to Wake
Jennifer Bukowski in for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler, everybody. And Donald John Trump, every morning is a gift. Every morning is a gift. Jennifer, tell us about this morning's wonderful gift from our El Presidente.
Yeah, I will tell you what, and I hadn't even thought of it from the angle that Ryan from Fox Radio, our last guest, brought up. These Democrats can't break through and get earned media. They can't get any airtime they keep making statements and having press announcements and stuff like that don't get covered because Donald Trump is constantly doing things to take over the news.
Correct.
And today is no exception. He has filed a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. And so that is going to take up a lot of their New York Times resources and attention. The process will be the punishment. It's not the first media outlet he's sued. And we'll have to wait and see how this goes. But he's saying that they're a terrible paper, of course, and that they've said false things about him. And he's going after them.
Which is
absolutely
true.
Yeah. I mean, giving out Pulitzers. Was it New York Times got Pulitzers for their coverage of the Russia hoax? And that's never been corrected.
Correct.
Like they spent years going after him, smearing him. And so, it's an 85-page lawsuit. This just broke, so I've not had time to review the specific claims of falsehood, but I will look into it and be able to talk about it more in specific detail as we cover this stuff this week and maybe later on Gary Nolan at 10:30 when I'm on his show.
Yeah,
Didn't he just go after the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, he did for the book, the Epstein book. He said that was not a letter I wrote. And so, but he's also gone after CBS. He's gone after, PBS, I think.
Yeah,
he cut their funding too. But
he went after ABC.
Yeah, he's shaking them down and he's gotten settlements. And those settlements have gone towards his presidential library, which has got to be extra painful for them because they hate the man and they're paying to memorialize him forever with his presidential library.
What I love about President Trump, and Ivanka once talked about this, is that Donald Trump has shown Republicans that it is time to punch back. Not in a physical, violent way like the Democrats love. We're talking about as if all of a sudden the falsehoods that have been said about conservatives going back decades, and we have just sat there like sheep and turned the other cheek. Well, Donald Trump fights back every time. It is one of his great abilities. It's also one of the reasons people hate him, because Donald Trump goes out of his way to take on people who go and say false things about him. And that's what I like about him so much.
Yeah, I think that's what made him more popular. You had too many kind of squishy people like Mitt Romney, who was the nicest guy ever, tried to stay above it all. And they still painted him like he was some evil guy because one time on a family vacation, he strapped the dog's kennel to the top of the car to take the dog on the trip. And people were like, he's terrible to dogs. And then he's like, yeah, I definitely want to have women in my administration. I believe in, having professional women and talented. I've got a binder full of women. They're like, oh, he has binders. Like it was a bad thing. Binders full of women. No, he was making sure he was going to include smart, intelligent, talented women in his administration. They turned it into an attack point on him, and he didn't punch back.
Yeah, well, he, again, didn't punch back at all. And the whole thing about Mitt Romney, especially with the binders of women type of stuff, a lot of people in corporate world, this has changed, by the way, but 20 years ago, is that companies were looking to promote women that were on their team. And they went and said, we have to make these promotions.
Yeah.
And let's look at our team and let's put together a list of people that we should consider for future executive openings.
Well, this was also in the context of the talking point around that time that the left had was the right is waging a war against women.
Yes.
So when I would keynote a Republican address, I'd be like, thank you for having me speak despite you guys' war on women that you're having right now. It's kind of weird that I got invited to speak as a keynote speaker, even though there was this big war on women from the right. Yeah, you'd think that they would have kept me quiet and not let me have a mic. But despite their war on women, But that's why he was bringing up, no, I have no problem with women. I have a binder full of women that I would consider, they made an attack point. But Trump punches back. He's punching hard against the New York Times this morning for a $15 billion lawsuit. I mean, let's be honest, attorneys would just kind of make up those figures. They don't really mean anything when they announce them in the lawsuits very much. Like once you allege over a certain amount, it triggers like the jurisdictions of certain courts. And that's about it. But they kind of make up the number. The number that they announce the lawsuit with is more publicity than it is a legal thing.
That's like you guys said, every time we turn around, it seems like the president is dominating today's news cycle. And you wonder if the major media is getting a little complacent going, let's see, do we go out and dig deep and try to come up with a story? Or do we just go to today's White House presser like everybody else?
They have an incentive to get clicks. And like some, milquetoast person on the left or whatever is not going to get you clicks like something that Donald Trump is doing because he puts things in all caps. It drives them crazy, but they cannot help themselves. They have to report it on constantly. He's quoted today, I have the great honor, capitalizes great and honor, of bringing a $15 billion defamation and libel lawsuit against the New York Times, one of the worst and most degenerate newspapers in the history of our country. He capitalizes history and country there. Becoming a virtual, quote, mouthpiece, end quote, for the radical left Democrat Party. I view it as the single largest illegal campaign contribution ever. I really want to get a hold of this lawsuit to see if that is something that is actually being alleged in here as a campaign contribution. If there is some sort of civil angle on that as a legal matter, I'm curious to look into that.
Coming up, I want to talk about there's something else President Trump has done that's gone under the radar, and he's laid down the smack on NATO. That's coming up on Wake Up Missouri. We'll have that for you at 7:37 right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. Wake Up Missouri. It is John Marsh, Jennifer Bukowski, Peter Thiel, that's me, and for the wonderful Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler. Trump, by the way, and this is something I find just absolutely ridiculous. This has happened. Trump is urging NATO to stop buying Russian oil. You see, here's what NATO has done. This is how ridiculous this is. NATO has been funding the Russian war effort while also funding the Ukrainian war effort because it has gone out that, and by the way, part of this is Joe Biden's fault, is that oil and natural gas should have come directly from the United States, easily to go up and ramp up. But Joe Biden and the Biden administration fought against liquefied natural gas to get to Europe. Donald Trump is putting an end to that. We're going to be the economic superpower. For natural gas, the United States, we are the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. We have so much natural gas, we should be able to go out and distribute it around the world. That helps American workers, it helps American communities and families grow. And how NATO has been supporting both the Ukraine and Russia at the same time is one of the most ridiculous things ever. I am so glad Donald Trump is taking this on. Oh, my goodness, finally.
And it's because he's a businessman that he's able to see these things that the other politicians just haven't picked up on or focused their attention on. How does Vladimir Putin have the money to put those many troops on the border and then go ahead and invade Ukraine? It's because, Biden turned back on the money spigot, so Vladimir Putin has all this money, and Trump's pointing out, look, you're wanting us to send more and more weapons and do all this stuff for Ukraine. You're the reason that you're enabling this war to begin with. Turkey is third only to India and China in terms of buying oil from Russia. Without the money, they can't afford to pay the troops. They can't afford to do this war. And
a collapsing Vladimir Putin would be an absolute wonderful thing for the wonderful people of Russia. And again, it's just so bizarre as we're going out and looking at this. And of course, Trump's encouraging NATO also to back steep tariffs on China to end the war.
He's calling on them to impose 50% to 100% tariffs on China to be lifted once the Russia-Ukraine war ends. Now, we aren't imposing that kind of level of tariff on China. So that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, again,
unless we weren't the last I heard. I'll have to check.
But also realize this: Europe spends more money on Chinese goods, NATO does, than the United States. It is a huge thing. Now, the United States has a lot of multinational corporations. A lot of stuff is built in China. But the sales, remember, are global. It's not just the United States. So, this is the example everyone brings up, and I'm not besmirching Apple here. But Apple, traditionally, they have produced a lot of their items in China. And those are, a lot of them are sold in the United States, but they're sold in Japan, they're sold in Europe, they're sold all over the world. Yeah. So it's just, the United States is just one small piece of the greater thing that happens for some of these multinational corporations.
Well, you look at the energy customers you were talking about, the EU buying Russian oil, and I think since the Ukrainian war kicked in, they are way down in what they get from Russia. But Russia's biggest and farthest away, at least oil customers, the Chinese.
Yeah,
well, and India. And India.
Yeah. But, Europe does have they have over twice as many people as us if you include Russia, but they have almost twice as much without Russia, that 604 to 610 million people in Europe. So if they started slapping a big tariff on China, that really could cause an end to the war. Like if China's like, fine, because China needs money from the West to survive. Xi Jinping needs it to stay in power. If we start getting serious about cutting them off financially, that's where, follow the money. And also the money has consequences. People want the money and they'll act accordingly. You have to create the right incentives for people to do the right thing sometimes. And if that means taking their money away or making them choose between this war in Ukraine and like playing along with Russia or having money, they're going to pick having money.
Absolutely. It's Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, Peter Thiel in for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler. We're talking a little bit about President Trump's going after NATO to stop buying Russian oil. I think it is time to happen.
And to tariff China.
Yeah,
because they're buying so much of the oil.
And it's just time to really put the thing to end this war. And funding both sides is just so stupid. Also, the United States, let's go out and build our economy. Let's go out and produce this. And for whatever reason, you'll hear people say, oh, no, we certainly don't want to do that. Climate change. Okay. Climate change has been going on for thousands upon thousands of years. It really, in the history of the planet, the Ice Age was only here a second ago. I mean, the Ice Age, where this entire planet was, great portions were covered by ice, including Missouri, that ended, and it melted not necessarily because because of human activity. It did primarily because our planet's been warming since then. And we sometimes ignore that fact.
Well, we'll have to see how this shakes out if they actually do tariff China, because that would be a big, significant development. I mean, Trump, how much more news do we need? Like, this is such an era to be involved with. Now he's heading to the UK. We're seeing live footage of that. So we'll see Marco Rubio is over making deals with Qatar.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot happening in this administration, and it's exciting. They're a privilege to get to cover it, and it's exciting as an American to watch it.
Yeah, and the idea here, President Trump is looking out for Americans first. Doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, doesn't matter what your point of view is, doesn't matter anything. It's that jobs and great jobs in the United States helps all people grow. And our energy consumption must continue, energy production should increase, and President Trump is trying to make that happen. And I couldn't be more excited about that. The other thing that I'm so excited about President Trump on is that he's taking on all comers. How busy is this guy? He's 80 years old, and what he's doing on a daily basis as our president of the United States is over the top amazing.
I don't know how he keeps track of it all. I mean, like last night he had a loss in court. Trump's bid to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. The court said that he can't do that in an emergency ruling last night, hours before the central bank's 2-day monetary meeting kicks off. So it was the U.S. Appeals Court for the District of Columbia split 2-1 along party lines. Another defeat for the White House. We'll have to go up to the Supreme Court on that one. But I was seeing reporting that it's not such a clear-cut case whether she lied on her mortgage applications about primary residences. So I don't know if the court looked at the merits of that in their decision last night or what. But there's just so much happening. It's hard for me to keep track of. I don't know how Trump does it. I'm not having to make the decision to make the calls and hire the people. And he's dealing with all kinds of secret information, too, that we can't know about.
He's a very stable genius. And
he really is.
Big staff.
I know.
Yeah.
By the way, the greatest troll quote that Donald Trump ever said is that he goes, well, I'm a very stable genius. And remember how that freaked out the left? It was so amazing. Because Wake Up Missouri, we got Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, I'm Peter Thiel, producer Drake.
I'm a very stable, smart person.
Yes, and so that is
just ask me.
It's awesome. It's President Trump delivers on a daily basis. It is one of the greatest things.
And so we shouldn't nitpick him. Like the amount that he's doing and cooking all at once is admirable. It's really admirable. And he's doing it well, and he's putting America first and foremost in every decision he makes. He is, for someone that they constantly complain about, he doesn't have any principles, he's unprincipled. That is completely false. His principle is America first, and he's actually figuring out ways to accomplish that.
Yeah, no, and the other thing about Donald Trump that we have to pay full attention to and give him all the credit. He's doing all this stuff, and really, when you come down to it, the left-wing media will point out one mistake that's made. You're doing as much stuff as he's doing on a daily basis. There will be mistakes made. I make mistakes, and I'm not doing that much.
Yeah.
It's
And they act like
Jennifer Bukowski on her drive to work today made this confession. She was eating cottage cheese while driving and spilled cottage cheese on herself.
Why are you telling people this? No one wants that visual. My goodness.
But again, you're not running the free world. You're just driving and consuming
If I were,
food.
then I would have had a driver and hopefully a chef, so I would have been eating something better than cottage cheese in my car on the way here. But an old dark 30. Like it was dark outside. That's why that happened. But,
She would be helicoptered into the parking lot at dark 30.
And then I wanted motorcycles in my little or could I just land it on the roof? I don't know how that would work. Anyway,
I don't think we have roof
I don't think we need to
access.
worry about that problem happening anytime soon.
At the Zimmer Radio World Headquarters, we do not have easy roof access, I don't believe.
I don't think we have a helipad. But we
You know
have
what?
a heck of a lot of land around here where a helicopter could land, I guess.
And we need to add that into next year's budget. We'll have to talk to the boss and let her know.
Just on the off chance Trump wants to come and do a live hit, we should have a helipad ready for him.
Yes.
But hopefully he's too busy taking care of our country to even ask him to do that. But yeah, bummed to see he had a loss in court. Interesting lawsuit that he filed against the New York Times. Heading to Europe. So much happening. It's a great time. It's a sad time with the Charlie Kirk thing, but Charlie would want us. He would want to see this America First thing happen. He'd want to see us making all these moves, and so I'm glad, to see that unfolding.
It is Wake Up Missouri. That's Jennifer Bukowski. I'm Peter Thiel. John Marsh is here. John, what's coming up?
How about ground control to Grandma San?
We'll look forward to hearing that. John Marsh coming up next at 7:52, exclusively on Wake Up Missouri.
This is
except for this.
An 80-year-old woman from Sapporo, Japan, is the latest victim of an online astronaut. The man met the woman on social media and claimed to be aboard a spaceship orbiting Earth. He went on to convince her that his ship was under attack and he was running out of oxygen, which, of course, could only be remedied by the transfer of 1 million yen to his bank account so he could buy more. Investigators said her communications with the fake spaceman showed she had developed romantic feelings for him.
Yeah, she could have just sent that to me. I
take your protein pill and
well,
put
you're
your
a little
helmet
out
on,
there,
right?
but I don't know. Could you have convinced her you're out of this world, Peter?
Well, I'm crazy. But out of this world, living on a space station, no, that's a heck of a game there.
I wonder how much they're like just wanting to convince themselves of these things. Like the one guy who thought he really did have a relationship with what famous actress was it? It was like someone big, not Britney Spears, but someone like, but he thought that she really did need him to send her Apple gift cards and stuff like that, or Amazon gift cards, because she was hard up for cash. And he did. Some elderly guy. Are you just convincing yourself of that at that point? Shouldn't you know a little better? Maybe are you getting something out of whoever this person is that's fake? You kind of might know they might be catfishing you, that they're fake, but you're getting enough out of it that it's worth some Apple or Amazon gift cards to keep the relationship going.
Yeah, generally speaking, if someone reaches out to you and they say, hey, I need help, I lost my luggage, send me gift cards, you know that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, the scary thing now with AI, they can do videos. They can make the voice sound like loved ones and call your grandparent and
hey, Grandma,
you're convinced.
It's me. I'm in jail.
And it can sound like you.
If my grandma calls me.
Yeah, that would be remarkable.
Yeah, it would be a remarkable deal. Mine has been dead for, one grandma, the grandma I knew has been dead for 20-some years.
Well,
I recognize
it might be
her
worth
voice
some
immediately.
Amazon gift cards to me if someone was able to recreate that experience in a somewhat accurate manner. I mean, who knows?
I would.
People pay psychics to look at their hands and stuff like that.
I would want my grandmother, if she was being catfished by my grandma. She was, a by scratch French cook. I would want some
you'd want some food.
Yeah,
that would be worth some gift cards too.
Yeah, it's
good French cooking.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
sign me up.
Yeah,
send it to me, Grandma.
Yeah, you send me, Granny, send me this, and then I'll hook you up with a gift
card. That stuff's not cheap. Good fine French food, not cheap.
No. So it's just, I'm all in on that. So, So Granny, fake Granny, if you're there, you'll get a gift card from me.
Just
after,
go ahead. Please scam me. Yeah.
But
then you won't get your food, or it'll be.
You have to get the food first.
Yeah, it'd be Chef Boyardee that you're getting from a scammer or something like that.
I can tell the difference between Chef Boyardee and actual scratch French cooking. I know the difference.
On a somewhat related note, have you guys noticed that people seem more and more back into things like horoscopes and psychics?
Yeah.
It was something that was big 30 years ago or 25 years ago. I'm old enough to remember every newspaper would have horoscopes and stuff. Then it went away for a long time. And now the young people are talking about what zodiac sign they are and doing all that stuff again. And I see psychics when I travel to other cities, even in Columbia. Psychic, brick and mortar businesses with psychics in them.
Do you know who runs those booths, those stores? It's written. They are owned by the Romani
Are you going to tell me?
People.
Are you psychic?
Yeah, they're owned by the Romani people, a.k.a. gypsies.
The gypsies?
Yep. Nearly every one of those tarot card psychics, they're all set up that way. In fact, among that community, they negotiate where the location will be. They don't want them too close to each other. There's a big
Here in
store.
America?
Yes.
So like Dollar General, right?
Yes.
Dollar General does that too, huh? Yeah, that makes sense.
Coming up, we're going to be speaking about, our good friend from Fox News, Alex Tarasio, is going to be joining us at 8:10. We're going to be talking about Trump is going after lefty groups, and I think it's awesome. I'm here for us. Wake Up Missouri. That's coming up right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. Well, let's wake up Missouri with Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh. My name is Peter Thiel. We're with you all week. We got producer Drake here. We're expected to hear from Alex Tarasio. He's going to be with us shortly to discuss what's going on with Trump, looking at investigating some of these big non-governmental organizations. Many of them have received federal funding that have essentially pinning to undermine our union. And I think that's an important thing for us to discuss, and we will have that for you in just a moment. Right now, Kash Patel is speaking before the U.S. Senate. I think that's an important thing. I think he's doing a tremendous job. If you want to talk about, and someone pointed this out on the text line, which you can always text us at 573-874-9390. That's 573-874-9390. 9390. Did you notice that people always go out and they'll criticize Kash Patel, but they never, ever criticize Christopher Wray? Interesting.
Isn't it?
Is that Kash Patel has been criticized, of course, by the left. That's a given, but also by some conservatives and some people on the quote-unquote Trump team. Not that easy to be running the FBI and changing the problems and the culture that seems to be pervasive in that organization, which should never be a political organization, should be about one thing and one thing only. Should be completely about justice. And justice should be a blind thing. And we during the Biden administration, they figured out how to fund organizations that were opposing conservatives. It's really not what the government should be done. USAID should be done, should be closed forever. It is a real important thing that we should be having that discussion right now. I am.
It's problematic when you have these non-governmental organizations getting billions of our tax dollars, but they're not subject to the same oversight that the government is. We don't have the same clarity of records. You can't FOIA them. And so it's really ballooned under Biden, the amount of money and the functions of like what should be governmental functions that are being carried. Well, I don't think they should be doing it at all, and we need our money back. But the things that they've been doing in the name of government through these kind of shadowy organizations, and when you see a group affiliated with Stacey Abrams getting like over $1 billion for what now? Like
I think was on the edge of getting $2 billion for energy efficient appliances.
And they couldn't
to the poor.
show they'd done one damn thing with it.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you have like other companies, like one of the All In podcast guys, they'd invested tons of money. They were going to have battery factories here in the United States. And they went through all this rigmarole to try to get approved to get any of this money. And it took them years and years to finally get approved for some. And then Stacey Abrams, in an organization that had just been formed, gets billions. It's very shady, and it needs to be looked into.
I am really concerned again about some of the craziness that we see from the left and how the left has been so pervasive. Donald Trump, and I'm going to make a confession, Jennifer Bukowski, right here on Wake Up Missouri, and John, I hope you guys don't throw judgment at me. In 2015, when Donald Trump was talking about the swamp and the stuff, I was a little cynical on it right up front.
Oh, really?
And I was a little cynical, mainly because it's easy to say about anybody who serves in elected office, but Donald Trump proved it to me. And when you have an unelected bureaucracy of appointed individuals that have no legislative mandate, making policy decisions, that is so problematic.
And they're so out of touch. They're in this bubble. They don't care about us.
Correct.
They care about enriching themselves. And it's a racket. It really is. And it needed to be drained. And that's why they didn't want him so badly, because he wasn't one of them. And he wouldn't play ball with them.
Correct. You know what's worse than that, though? Is they look upon people as being stupid. The average American person being an idiot. and comes from most of these people went to Ivy League schools, did the most elite educations. I've been around those people, by the way, not as smart as they think they are.
Oh,
I have met people. I've been to, I used to stop at a restaurant that was right on a major freeway where truckers would be on Saturday mornings. I would go in on a Saturday morning, get a breakfast, and I'd sit at the counter and be surrounded. Some of these are the most well-read people I've ever been around. And to look at somebody because they have a blue-collar job or somebody because
they live in Missouri.
They live in Missouri.
Yeah, they look down.
Flyover country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just go to New York and L.A., or maybe they'll stop by D.C., and that's about it. And they look down on the rest of the country, and Trump picked up on that, and Trump knew that, and Trump knows how important the whole country is. So, yeah.
Well, Trump, and you say anything you want about Donald Trump, but, man, he's got the marketing side of things down to a T, and he's sort of been kind of the anti-Madison Avenue crowd have been the marketers who've worked for the Trump organization.
Yeah, and he gets his enemies to do his bidding by covering him nonstop. They give him billions in free advertising for his presidential campaign. It's really brilliant.
Now, I want to just talk about just one thing about Trump that's just so amazing is that not only is he taking everything on, he's going deeply after these non-governmental organizations. He's going after all these different things. And what I really appreciate and appreciate very, very much about him is that he does not quit. And he's always looking for that next thing to drive people nuts. And the idea of sending troops in to St. Louis, which I love.
I don't think that's necessarily to drive folks nuts. That's because he cares about death. He cares about people not getting killed. That's why he cares about the Ukraine war. That's why he stopped these conflicts in places that we couldn't even point out on a map without, labels. He really cares about people, and he doesn't want to see the carnage in our inner cities.
No, and I agree with that. But really, though, who's going to be driven up the wall? We have had Democrats protesting on the streets of major cities, basically saying, we love crime.
Yeah.
That's how brilliant Donald Trump is.
Two different Department of Justice employees, including a lawyer, threw a sandwich and hit a National Guards person in D.C., and then a paralegal was going in bragging every day about flipping him off and screaming at him. And they work for our Department of Justice. That's the swamp right there, man.
My whole thing with Donald J. Trump is that he has figured out how to make these messages. If you go back to the 90s, there was this guy named Bill Clinton who was our president.
Who now?
William Jefferson Blythe Clinton Jr. Okay.
Well, compared to Democrats today, he seems like a dreamboat, doesn't he?
Here's,
if you had to pick a Democrat.
Here's what he did. And it was very smart at the time. And they thought how advanced it was. It's called triangulation. Getting the opponents to agree with you and then bringing along. He was able to do a lot of different things. It was very smart the way that he did certain things.
Yeah, bring coalitions together.
Yeah, Donald Trump has taken that and turned it up to 11.
Yeah, and included celebrities in the process.
Yeah.
Oh, Kim Kardashian. Okay, let's do criminal justice reform with the super celebrities. And yeah, it's entertaining as all get out.
And what he does and the brilliance of how he gets people to get mad, having Democrats protest for crime is by far one of the most brilliant things he has ever done.
You're not wrong there.
It is so great. The idea.
They're like, oh, wait, what? Now we're having to defend the criminals? Oh, my God. You're so true.
Those morons in Illinois, Pritzker.
The border? Like, they had to fight about the wall? Everyone knows the walls make sense. Like, it's anti-common sense. That's the party of the left.
And that goofy mayor
and
of
he's great
Chicago.
About getting them to point that out about themselves.
Yes. They do a news conference talking about there's no problem with crime. They don't go through it. Then that weekend, 45 people were shot, 9 people dead in Chicago, but don't pay attention to those stats.
And
crime is down.
Ironically, it's Trump that seems to care the most about stopping that and about those lives that are lost.
Totally
he
correct.
Wants to actually do something about it. And do I want to see Tanks rolling down the streets, no. Like in St. Louis, we talked earlier with Chris Arps, and I didn't get a chance to mention this, but it was off-putting to see tanks rolling in. It wasn't, it was the police with all their equipment that they get from the feds or whatever, but it was jarring to see that kind of equipment brought in, and I think it turned things higher, turned up the temperature. So I don't want to see like troops marching through the streets all the time, but if we need to do a crackdown to make things safer so that the normies can come out in the daylight and at night and engage in commerce and lawful activities, maybe let's give it a try. What we've been doing has not been working. It's time to try something new.
You bring up Bill Clinton, which is interesting. We think back to Bill Clinton's term, and what was it, the Violent Crime Prevention Act, where he hired he authorized money for hiring 100,000 new cops and all. Maybe it's time to revisit some of Clinton's policies in that regard.
Well, he was welfare to work. He put work requirements in. Trump's doing that now. I mean,
it's the economy, stupid. That was another Bill Clinton deal.
I mean, he sounds like a Republican compared to the Democrats we're seeing now, when you have like actual socialist that like communism, like Mamdani is one of their new emerging leaders, and AOC seriously being talked about as a presidential candidate. It's unbelievable.
The Morning Bell, that comes up at 8:23. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri. Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, producer Drake. I'm Peter Thiel, right here on the Zimmer Radio Network.
You're listening to Wake Up Missouri.
Missouri. Stock futures, it's kind of a mixed bag right now. Dow Industrial futures are off about 64 points, and with NASDAQ futures up 53 and S&P 500 futures up 6.25. It's Elon Musk has bought, like a lot of his own stock back for Tesla. That's a great sign for that stock. Bitcoin is up a little bit this morning. It's up $196 per coin, a little off of its high. It's at $115,530 at this moment. Dogecoin is off. Shiba Inu, which I love. Shiba Inu is up 0.38%, and the other big one is Ethereum. It is off $17.60 per coin at this time. There's a cybercrime spree that we all should be aware of using artificial intelligence. This is going to be a very difficult thing for all of us to understand as we go through and percepting a lot of stuff. I see stuff a lot of time on social media that's obviously social media or is actually artificial intelligence derived pictures, artificial intelligence put together themes. Be very, very careful. Be very, very skeptical about what you see online, even if you think it comes from a source that's a friend or something that you know and follow. It's really trust but verify everything that you see before sharing it online. Donald Trump warns NATO to stop buying Ruski oil and put big tariffs on China.
Also, consumer spending, retail sales rose by 0.6% in August, and so that was higher than expected. So that's good news about the consumers' confidence in the economy. Also, gold prices have reached all-time highs, with futures topping $3,700 an ounce. That's a lot for a little ounce of gold, isn't it? One little ounce.
Wow. I have not done the whole precious metals thing. Anybody here done the precious metal investing?
Just as a hedge, just to have a diversified,
Yeah, I get
as a prepper thing more than anything.
Yeah, I get the idea of having some on having some because it's just something that will never lose value, but it's not necessarily the greatest investment to hedge against.
I think it's good to have, my husband's really good at all this stuff. I'm not the one in the family that heads this up, but we have, crypto, stocks, land, gold. We just have a mix of different things. And that way, if one thing goes to hell, you still have the other things, hopefully.
Yeah, I have crypto and I have
guns
stocks.
just in case everything goes to hell.
Yeah, and I have weapons too.
I had a question about the Fed meeting, which is tomorrow, and they're expected to cut the lending rate 0.25%.
Yeah, with Lisa Cook apparently gets to vote.
She gets it. Does Trump's new guy get a vote tomorrow?
That's a really good question, because if Lisa Cook can't be fired according to the appeals court.
And he was approved by the Senate, so I would imagine he gets a vote tomorrow.
I would think so, but I have no idea.
Number of spots? That's a really good question.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
Because he was approved to fill her seat, right? Or was he? Was that a separate
there was
deal?
Somebody else that went
there was another person that
Kegler or whatever her name
That's right.
was.
Someone else quit. Like, I was in D.C. when that happened, actually, and Aaron Hedlund came by and he's like, "Yeah, that was like a surprise thing that just happened." And I think it was like Aaron Hedlund's boss was being. There's different promotions all in the works because of that. So it was like a dominoes. One position opens, then all kinds of other things. Someone else, and you need to fill all these roles. But yeah, so I guess they both do. Then, right?
And a lot
because they haven't replaced Lisa Cook on that yet.
And go out and make a nice person an ambassador. Trump hasn't called me to be an ambassador. I think I'd be a good one.
I think you could maybe be
deputy
ambassador to Iceland if you sucked up to Billy enough.
If you date one of his kids and then break up amicably enough, you could be ambassador to Greece.
There you go.
That's not a bad gig.
Yeah, but
for Kim Guilfoyle, that wasn't a bad exit.
Yeah, sadly, both of his daughters are married. Even though I'm sure they look upon me with great affection.
Yeah, I'm sure they're missing out, man.
Yeah, really missing out.
Why did I marry these duds when I could have had Peter Thiel?
That's right. What a dreamboat I am. Wake Up Missouri. Coming up More with here 2 or 3 or 4, 5 friends.
As America
Yes. This article really lifts my mood. St. Louis Post-Dispatch article. Usually you open the Post-Dispatch, it's depressing. All these people are getting shot, getting killed. The editorials are all anti-Trump usually. But here's an article that gives me hope. Missouri's school cell phone ban, fewer fights, less anxiety, more, quote, boredom for students. The article talks about how, it's lunchtime at Kirkwood High School and the students are filtering out of the building. 2 boys make their way to a soccer field and toss a Frisbee. A small group of friends sit in the grass outside the auditorium. A picnic table is full of students doing homework. They're not on their phones. Even the quote, lost art of handwritten notes is back. But surprisingly enough, a lot of the students are kind of liking not having their phones. I think this is huge.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely great news. It's a great deal. By the way, when you were in school, especially for whatever reason, elementary and junior high was much bigger than high school, at least for me. Did you have like a code with you and your friends to write notes back and forth where you had, you wrote things in code?
We played around with stuff like that. Yeah.
In case the teachers grabbed it, they couldn't tell what you were talking about?
Yeah, we did. I forgot about that, actually, but we didn't always use it, I don't think, because I wrote notes just regular that my mom was able to, like, locate my backpack and read.
And
but,
then you were grounded
the nice
for
thing
2
about
weeks,
that is, like, kids that age are mean. Girls especially could be mean in junior high and stuff like that.
Everyone at that age.
High school. But you could only be mean a certain number of times, and you had to be, like, in person to do it or handing off notes to do it. So with social media, it's just the opportunity to be mean to anyone in the world all 24/7. So no wonder the kids have more stress and anxiety and unhappiness. And with the recording of the fights, that's causing more fights because then they post those on social media.
Yes.
Plus they drum up the conflicts. Oh, so-and-so said this or that. So we have more opportunities to get mad at each other and have cause for a fight. So overall, I like freedom and everything else, but I think this might be helping the kids, these phones having to be not used during school.
I think there's one detrimental
I would
thing,
be jonesing for my phone, but
yes.
Luckily I'm done with high school, so it's not my problem.
There's one detrimental thing that we're missing out on. I get the yearly call right here on our radio stations from a listener that says they've heard about a kitty litter at, unnamed junior high.
I've never seen a photo of it. I don't believe it.
I don't either. I don't believe it. I always ask the same thing.
Everyone has so many cameras. There's no way if that's actually happening, there wouldn't be photos of it.
I would love to see that picture, and it never happs, so I don't believe it
it's
either.
Fake
but
news.
I think the furries are covering it up.
It's a furry gate. But no, they aren't. I don't think the furries necessarily. Well, I can't speak to that.
You are our furry expert
Yeah.
here,
She
Jennifer Bukowski.
Yeah, I think there might be weird ones that do stuff like that. I don't know, but they're anthropomorphic. They're like cartoon characters. They're not actually pretending to actually be the animals necessarily. I don't think. I don't know. Ask a furry friend. Don't ask me.
Producer Drake, you're a man of all sorts of things.
Fur-loving man.
Have you? Do you know any furries? And do they use litter boxes?
I mean, I don't know any furries that I know of. I mean, I hope I don't.
They keep it secret, actually. So you might know one and not know it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, and, if out of those however many people that happened, I grew up in a high school where there was less than 50 people in my class, and I think in my entire high school career, there has been maybe 3 fights that I've seen, and one of them was on video. All the others I've heard about throughout the school or whatever. But
yeah. By the way,
there weren't like multiple fights a day, like a Battle High School. They're having all these fights every day.
Yes.
But I think social media has a lot to do with that. The fact that you can record it and then post it on social media has a lot to do with it. There weren't that many. If there were fights, it would be a big deal when I was in high school. But the opportunity to have those kind of conflicts that got that bad was far fewer without the social media and the phones.
Yeah, and also it amplified the beefs. So
that's exactly right. Yeah.
So
they're stirring up the trouble. That happens with adults too, actually.
Sure.
These crimes, like you're like, oh, well, these women were talking crap, this and that, and the next thing you know, their baby daddies are shooting at each other or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's there is
So like Stephanie's story where she had the run-in with Nicki Minaj because a different Stephanie Bell.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you were right in the middle of it, weren't you?
I was, yeah. All of a sudden, all of them were going to come after Stephanie Bell, and I was with her. We're waiting to go into the Republican debate, and Nicki Minaj announces that the person who had swatted her was Stephanie Bell. And all of a sudden, her phone just blew up with all these people like, we know where you're at, because she had posted a picture of us about to go into this Republican debate. We weren't in it yet, but there were already mobs of people outside protesting, like, we are coming for you. That was surreal. But then it all got straightened out.
Got that piece
that was something else, but yeah.
And by the way, generally speaking, if Nicki Minaj says something, I just take it as gospel.
Apparently, there are a lot of Stephanie Bells. Yeah.
She's wonderful, and I think that's great.
Intellectual. She can't be worse than Cardi B, though. That lady with her lyrics. Oof.
No, it's anybody who sits there and says I want my daughter to be Cardi B, really needs to be sort of
Who says that? I've never heard anyone say that.
There are people, I guarantee it. I guarantee you.
Well,
if you're not familiar with Cardi B, she's a lady hip hop artiste
who got her, started off by like drugging and robbing men while she was working as a stripper and prostitute.
Yeah.
And she sings about it and brags about it.
And so she's a wonderful role model.
Yeah. Yeah. Brags about all the people, she had a music video. Look, it's her and all these dancers in like bodysuits appearing to be naked, covered in blood, because they're very violent. It's wild. And she's she's won more awards than anybody as a female pop art or whatever rap artist. It's incredible.
Yeah, again,
that she's so popular. But I've sounded like an old person. Like,
you really
what
do.
Are these?
I love
what are
the
these
Cardi
people
B.
that the
She's
kids,
awesome.
These kids today listen to these people. What's wrong with them? I'm like angry old lady on the porch with a cane. It sounds like, but really, I kind of feel that way. Like, what is the deal? This is crazy.
By the way, I saw a friend of mine when I was in New York who's an older guy who has moved on to the cane. Instead of just doing the normal cane, he's doing with the Moses-like walking staff. And I said, you know what? When it becomes time for me to be with a cane, that's what I'm doing. Because
you'd have to hold on to it like this. It doesn't seem very ergonomical.
Sort of like St. Patty's Day in Rolla at Missouri.
If you're
Tech,
drunk
with their big giant shillelaghs that they carry around.
Yeah. Well, no, the deal is you don't have to bend over. So you're standing up straight holding the staff. So there's some real good reasons to have a Moses-like walking stick. So
I'm
when I
have
get
some
that
sort
age,
of fancy gadget that drives me around super quick. That's what I'll go for. I don't know about hobbling along like a cane. There's going to be some sort of fancy scooter in the future, hopefully, that I'll just be moving around quicker than everybody if I get to that point, hopefully.
or like the kids have, these battery operated scooters or bikes that move along around neighborhoods like absolutely insanity.
Yeah, visited my son at Purdue. There are a ton of them on one wheel scooters. It's one tire, like a big one in the middle.
I'm
like,
yes.
I don't know if I'd feel with a backpack and they're looking at their phone and cruising down the. I'm like, I don't know if I would feel a little nervous. I want at least 2 wheels on my scooter, if not 4.
And are they wearing something to protect the coconut? A helmet?
No, I don't. Not all of them.
Yeah, that's not good. You do a head
they're
injury.
young.
It's not
they
a big
got balance. If it's better than a motorcycle, I can tell you that. They don't go that fast, but you could still get hit by a car, I guess.
Yeah, no.
Motorized skateboard.
No, there are people who have head injuries falling off a bicycle, not even going that quick. So it's and these electric scooters and electric bikes and stuff, they move along at a very good clip.
But the scooter thing, that's fun. I did that recently when I visited my son at Purdue. Like, I was like, okay, let's you scan the code, you hop on the thing, and you can get places in no time and less exhausted. So I think they're handy. They're fun, but I don't know if I'm ready for a one-tire one. Maybe I'll get brave one of these days and go for it.
You know what? You only live once.
Yeah.
YOLO!
But they don't rent those out where you go up and scan it. These people own their own, I assume, own it.
It's so that's a good thing. And so coming up on Wake Up Missouri at 8:50, we're going to have today's winners and losers, and it is a long list of winners and losers that have been put together by producer Drake, John Marsh, Jennifer Bukowski.
Oh, we did? That's a
Peter
Friday
Field.
thing. I got to scramble and do my homework now.
No,
Thanks, Peter.
Sorry. Well, you see, it's leftovers. It's the same thing.
Even
we got
better.
leftovers. Even better. Even better. That's coming up right here on Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network.
This is Wake
Leftovers with Jennifer Bukowski, John Marsh, producer Drake. I'm Peter Thiel, in for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler. Mr. Marsh, do you have any leftovers for us?
Yeah, the 3,200 Boeing mechanics and workers been on strike at Missouri and Illinois locations since August. Looks like they'll vote on a new settlement agreement on Friday. And their union officials say the 5-year tentative agreement includes improvements to wage increases and restores their signing bonus. So it looks like the Boeing folks may be headed back to work.
All right, very good. Jennifer Bukowski.
Well, we have transparency through President Trump, and as an Anglophile who I admittedly have too much interest in the royal family, there's an interesting development.
In reading?
300 pages of files about the time when the former king, who gave up the throne for his brother, for Wallace Simpson, they were apparently during World War II. He was governor of the Bahamas, but kept visiting Palm Beach in America, and the FBI was tailing them everywhere they went because they were afraid, because they had met with Hitler.
Yeah.
And they were afraid they were a threat. But those files just got released, so they're apparently chock full of all kinds of interesting information and made up things, and kind of interesting. So I'm excited to look more into this story for sure. Plus, Prince Harry just visited with his father, King Charles, who has cancer. And he said that his dad's going to be the priority in the coming year, which is a little alarming that maybe he feels like, Charles is running out of time. I don't know.
Tick-tock, tick-tock. All right, my freezer's filled with Good and Gather's Southwest-style burrito bowls that have been recalled by Target.
Oh, why?
They could have a food allergy in it, which wouldn't be a food allergy for me.
Oh, what?
So,
nuts?
Yeah, it's undeclared shrimp, and a lot of people have that. And so it's, undeclared shrimp in some products. And if you have a
shrimp allergy.
Yeah. And I like shrimp. I'm strong
Usually,
with it.
Even if they don't include shrimp, they're bragging about including shrimp. That surprises me that there's shrimp in something and they're not putting that all over the box.
And, of course, there was another recall having to do with radioactive shrimp at the Walmart.
That's right. The ones that glow in the dark.
Yes. And so
maybe they'll give you superpowers. Have we tried that?
Yeah, it's been a bad couple of weeks for the cockroaches of the sea.
I love shrimp.
I do too.
Yeah. Call them cockroaches. They're delicious.
They're bugs though. They're aquatic bugs.
I don't think of them as bugs.
They're yummy bugs.
Yeah. Delicious. You know what? If
a cockroaches tasted like shrimp, I'd be into eating cockroaches. I don't know. Do they? I've never tried a cockroach. But if they did, I bet we'd be
try one.
There was an article, I don't know, a couple of years back talking about cockroach milk. Maybe
how come they're not mammals? There's
apparently
not
they
like
create
they're
milk.
milking them.
Yes.
They can make some sort of soy milk kind of thing out of them, I guess.
Yeah, pretty soon at a grocery store shelf near you, it's
they'll call it something else. They'll call it.
Milk.
They'll make up some other marketing people will get right on
La
that.
cucaracha leche. And that would be cockroach milk.
Yeah,
a little Spanish to kick forward. Yeah, so my freezer's filled with frozen burrito meals, and now I have to sit there saying, do I return them or do I just, I like.
If you're
shrimp.
not allergic to shrimp,
I'm pretty good. 57,000.
Don't feed them to the Wonder Dog.
Yeah, no, she's not getting any of that. My dog's not getting any of that. She only eats high-end dog food. That's it. And treats.
All right, John, what do you have?
Well, let's see what else I've got in the deep pile. How about kids who want to surf porn online are going to find it tougher to get into those sites?
Yeah.
This is according to Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. It says, starting at the end of November, the Missouri Manufacturing Practices Act.
Is it manufacturing or is it merchandising? Because I heard earlier it said manufacturing. I didn't know there was a such thing as a Missouri.
I think you're right.
I don't like the abuse of that vague statute. Missouri Merchandising Practices Act. Other states have actually passed laws to ban kids from looking at porn. And so while I'm a Hanaway fan and I don't want kids looking at porn, I'm a little uncomfortable with using that kind of vague statute to all of a sudden make something that should be passed by the legislature at the
as
law.
opposed to the kids.
If
right?
you have a 13-year-old at home and all of a sudden he says, "Can I borrow your ID, Dad?" You know it's not good.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Drake.
Well, less porn for kids is always great. I mean, you need an ID to go into certain schools here in Columbia, so make them.
You do?
Yeah. They take your ID and scan it, and then give you a sticker that says that you're a visitor with your ID photo and a barcode and everything.
Oh, yeah. The kids don't have to show an ID to get in, though.
Well, visitors.
Drake, obviously you do, and that makes sense.
Yeah, but anyways, I wanted to say there was a doubleheader last night for Monday Night Football.
Yes.
And we had a thriller with the Buccaneers-Texas game.
Yes.
Buccaneers down by 4 points. They need a touchdown in the final couple minutes of the game. And, they just pull through, and it was great. That's all I got to say.
Shannon Sharp has gone after Travis Kelce. He's going after him for being whiny instead of going out and being a winner. I think that all this anti-Chiefs hate, I'm standing up against that. I'm standing up for our Chiefs kingdom.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
I'm sick of these people picking on the Chiefs.
I'm sick of the Chiefs unfairly winning.
I like the Chiefs, and I'm glad that Taylor Swift is beefing up her security because heaven forbid if something happened to her, they could get our guns, man. But she went into this
tight ends.
So there you go. Wake up, Missouri. Thank you guys so much, Jennifer and John and Drake. And I'm Peter. We had a good show. Coming up, Gary Nolan right here on the Zimmer Radio Network.